What's really important to note is, while we strive to treat everybody the same, everybody equal, there are reasons, there are background histories to people from cultural perspectives that we should treat them differently. Not that we don't treat everyone with respect and caring and kindness, but sometimes depending on someone's background, depending on where they're coming from, they can perceive a lot of our accepted practices and ways of interacting as very strange, very different.
Have you heard much from folks who've done that work about how it helps them think about the work differently? Or
Yes, during the discussion group, a lot of people were, not that we treated anybody differently, but there was a lot of information that we weren't aware of, so it was an eye-opener, so to speak.
The Pride Parade, we talked about diversity of sexual orientation, and we have a whole arm at Capital Health that's about Pride Health for people with different sexual orientations. And every year I go in the Pride Parade to show support for that community. And the first year I remember being in it, and we may have had 6 or 7 Capital Health staff who were there. And the next year there were about 20. And then, every year it builds. And this year people came with their families and walked beside the floats, and we were celebrating everybody, right? So it didn't matter what your sexual orientation was.
We've had to be creative here around how to address their spiritual needs in terms of their needs to be at worship, but they're not really comfortable being in a Christian worship, which essentially that's what our chapel is, right? And so looking at creative ways to get them out to the mosque, or bringing in a native elder, which we have done, to do a sweetgrass ceremony and do the circles.
Trying to impose our values and our thinking, and because we think one way, we think that that's the way that people should be thinking. But that's what adds to our richness, is the ideas and the concepts that other people bring forward, and our tolerance of them.
People have a lot to say, just give them the opportunity.
There are so many community programs out there for different cultures that we don't have to be the experts. We can work with the community, work with the client, and don't be afraid to say to the client, well, I'm not completely sure about all the practices in your culture. How about you teach me? And that is a way to build rapport at the same time as learning a little bit more about their culture and how you can work with them in a respectful manner.
We did a turkey drive. We did a turkey drive for people in poverty. That's another way to diversity financially. We did turkey drives, we did toy drives, and we always made sure that they had a good Christmas or a good Thanksgiving.
I had the opportunity to work in Toronto for 3 years, and I was often the only white face in the room, or the only Canadian-born person in the room. And it gave me a whole different perspective about diversity of culture and people. It was a phenomenal experience. It was the best learning I ever had.
Also bring up a good point when you talk about different communities within Nova Scotia. We're a community here within the hospital.
We should also, at least as healthcare professionals, be allowed to say, you know what, I'm probably going to mess up at some point, and I might offend somebody at some point, and that's okay, because it's a learning process. We can't be experts in diversity because there's just so much to know, and there's so many different aspects to diversity that it's impossible to know it all.
Certainly some issues. The best thing that my family ever did for me and the people around me in raising me was that I wasn't treated any different. I don't think we should assume because people have limitations that you need to treat them at all any differently until they point out to you how they want to be treated. I would be insulted if somebody certainly felt there was something I couldn't do that I knew I could.
We have very different communities here. We have a few very urban communities, and then we have these vast amounts of rural communities where life is extremely different. And not different in a bad way, not different in a better way, it's just different.
I felt like myself like a minority, so I made it my own point to start to get back to the people that were, let's say, less popular. They got picked on because they like to play video games instead of going out partying or whatever, and I tried to bring them back into the class and get them more active and stuff, and kind of made that my goal for my grade 12 year.
and it shouldn't matter where you come into the healthcare system. If you come into the mental health stream and you have a physical issue, we should be able to look after that as well. If you come in with, you have a heart condition and you have mental health concerns, that should be addressed there as well. It needs to be more openness and more willingness, I guess, to accept and look at beyond those labels and take those labels away.
That's out there, and it's been great to hear people's perspectives and experiences that they've had. And that, that's really what we're trying to capture in Capital Health, is to understand every single aspect of diversity and be sure that we're paying attention to that, because we want our clients and our patients to feel like we care and that we're really understanding, we're meeting you where you're at. We want the same for all of us who are working at Capital Health, that we are respectful of each other, and we want to be models for our community. So that's a lot of the work that we're doing.